Hello everybody, my name is Daniel and today we are going to compare the traditional way of blockchain development, the old manual way, to Biela blockchain development. And yes, you heard that right. Blockchain development is officially live on biela.dev. So let's get started. For traditional development, you kinda have to be a developer, or at least to know how to use an IDE, an app such as Visual Studio Code, how to create a project, what a terminal is, and how to run your project. First, we initialize the npm project. We need to install some libraries that we'll use later. And now initialize the hardhat project. This creates a basic template for blockchain projects. You can see a few contracts, a script, and a testing suite. Now let's compile the contracts. And once we have the contracts ready to go, let's start a local blockchain node. The next step is to create a script that deploys our contract. Using the terminal, run the script. The deployment was successful and we can now see the contract's address. But if you want to check your transaction, you have to open the terminal where we started the node. This is how a transaction looks like. Not really intuitive, is it? And this is it. This is how you create and deploy a smart contract on a local blockchain. But how can you interact with it? You can't, or at least not in an easy way. So let's create an interface for our project. First, initialize a simple React project. Now we have to code it to create the page, the buttons, and make it able to read and send transactions to your contract. Also, don't forget to add your newly deployed smart contract address. That's it. Now run the project. You can now increment the counter and even increment it by 5 or any custom number. All this work and this is our result. It's functional, but that's mostly it. Do you want to change anything? Well, you have to go through the entire process all over again. Now, the fun part. Let's create the same project using Biela. You just have to describe your idea and nothing more. So my prompt is, let's create a simple smart contract counter with two functions, increment and increment by n. That's it. No fancy words, no spells, just natural language explaining your blockchain project idea. Look at this beauty. Just compare the level of effort it took us to generate the first app to this one created using Biela. Let's open and test the counter. We can still increment it or even increment by a custom amount. But do you remember how we checked the transaction on the local blockchain using the terminal and trying to get through all of that information? No more of that on Biela. Let's take a look at the Chain Explorer. Here you can see all the transactions you've done in your project. This is the first deployment transaction and all the increments we've done. Easy to read, easy to understand. For even more information about the transaction, just click on it. But now, what if you want to publish your website? Well, if you press on deploy, you will be shown an error. First, deploy the contracts. So let's do that. Press on deploy contracts. For mainnets, you have to connect your own wallet, but you're not going to do that right now. Let's select a testnet, Sepolia. Biela generates and funds a wallet for each individual user, so you just have to press on deploy contracts. Once the contracts are deployed, your app is updated and published. Let's check out the live app. And look at this, this is a complete project. We have a landing page, we have a documentation page, and a much better design than we previously had. To test out the live app, just connect your wallet. Biela also implemented a network change request, so my wallet matches the network the app is deployed on. As you can see, on the real app, you have to sign the transaction to actually increment the counter. And once the transaction has been confirmed on the actual chain, we can now see the change in our app. Difficult? I don't think so. It has never been easier to develop decentralized applications. Just describe your idea to Biela and it handles everything for you. Ready to publish? Press on deploy and take your app in front of the entire world. So, what are you going to build first?